LeBron James was the victim of racist vandalism. His home in Los Angeles, which by the way is considered a very liberal part of America, was vandalized with spray paint. There was a racial slur spray painted on the gate of his home, the N-word to be specific. And so what's amazing about this whole story is not that it happened, which, for people like us who cover stories like this on a regular basis, it seems kind of unsurprising. But the way that LeBron handled it when he was asked about it during a press conference, I think his statement was really powerful, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Take a listen.
But it just goes to show that that racism will always be a part of the world, a part of America, and hate, in America, especially for African American, is living every day. And even though that, that it's concealed most of the time, even though people hide their faces and will say things about you, and when they see you, they smile in your face. It's alive every single day. And I think back to Emmett Till's mom, actually. It's kind of one of the first things I thought of. And the reason that she had an open casket is because she wanted to show the world what her son went through as far as a hate crime and, being black in America. So it's like it doesn't, no matter how much money you have, no matter how famous you are, no matter how many people admire you, being black in America is tough.
And most people don't have that fame, don't have that wealth, and being black in America then is even tougher. So unrelated story, but it gives you a sense of how tough it is. Recently, JP Morgan had to pay a huge fine because they were using third parties that would do mortgages and charge a little over, on average, over $1,000 more for black families getting the same house, meaning the same price of a house. So why? They're black, so I'm gonna charge them more money because their rationale, I imagine, is I don't trust them. They're less trustworthy, but they have the same credit. It's the same price for the house. No, I'm gonna charge them more. Now, so when people say things like white privilege, people get pissed because they're thinking I'm a poor white guy in the middle of Kentucky. I ain't got no privilege. But what you don't know is when you go to get a mortgage, you're not getting charged an extra $1,000, okay? But they are. That is one of dozens of examples I can give you. In LeBron's case, he is rich, he is famous. He's got 1,000 things we don't have. So he has other privileges. But when it comes to his identity, well, those privileges don't help him. At the end of the day, they think it doesn't matter how rich and famous you are, you're still the N-word.
Right, so I wanna comment a little bit more on that or elaborate on that a little more. Because what you hear time and time again from people who are overtly racist is, well, they're lazy. They like to stereotype the black community. They're lazy, they get involved in crime, black on black crime, and they bring up all this BS, right? And they say if only if they worked as hard or if they were as successful, if they were this or if they were that. But in reality, it doesn't matter. LeBron James is obviously hugely successful, right? He couldn't be more successful in the field of work that he does, right? He's one of the best basketball players in the NBA. He's wealthy, he has everything, laid out for him. And it seems like he would be the last person who would be attacked by a racist person or their house vandalized by a racist person. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how successful he is. It doesn't matter that he's not involved in crime or government programs or any of that. It doesn't matter. The only thing that mattered to that individual who spray painted that racial slur on his gate was the color of LeBron James's skin. And there's nothing LeBron James can change about his behavior to make that other individual look at him differently. And that's the part that's crazy. And he mentioned how people will be they'll hide their racism, they'll smile at your face, and behind the scenes they're really hating you or what. But no, that was like 5 years ago. Things are different now. People are now overtly racist. They're proud of it. They parade it. They talk about it on social media. And that's the kind of rhetoric that was encouraged by the current administration that we have in office right now.
A really good example of it was just a couple of days ago. Chuck Woolery, game show host, came out and did this incredibly random tweet where he called Bernie Sanders basically a communist Jew. He says, "Is that a coincidence? I'm just pointing it out." It's like a weird old anti-Semitic stereotype about how Jews are actually communists and control the world or something, right? In the old days, Chuck Woolery would have thought that. He wouldn't have tweeted it publicly, though.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So, and maybe some people would have, not maybe, a lot of people would have thought about LeBron James, no matter how successful he was. And by the way, it's not just that he's talented and skilled. There's a lot of talented basketball players who don't work hard. And LeBron works his ass off, and everybody knows that, and he's famous for it, right? But it doesn't matter if you work hard. They're going to call you lazy anyway. They can call you the N-word anyway.
That's right.
And so now those guys have been empowered to go out there and do the spray painting and do all the different things that's happening. And I can't leave one of these stories when we talk about stereotypes without pointing out the irony. So the racist stereotypes are blacks are lazy. Remind me again who took slaves so they wouldn't have to do farm work? So they could just sit in their home and have other people do their work for them? Which one's lazy again? I'm pretty sure the slave owners who first took Native Americans as slaves and then African Americans as slaves, etc., were pretty freaking lazy when they didn't want to do their own work, okay? And then, they do crime. How about the crime when you enslave someone and beat them and murder them and rape them? How about all those crimes? Don't bring up the past, don't bring up the past. No, I'll stop bringing up the past the minute you stop with your racist stereotypes, okay?
Also, in recent days, the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. experienced a few racist acts by unidentified individuals. There was a noose placed on the floor of an exhibition involving segregation. It was the second time this week a noose was found on the grounds of a Smithsonian institution. Also, a noose was found hanging from a tree outside of the Hirshhorn Museum, another Smithsonian institution that showcases contemporary art. So that's what's happening in the country right now. So
the last two things about it, because what the right-wing racists will now say is, you guys are making it racial. Dude, I didn't put the noose up in the African American Museum. We didn't write N-word on LeBron James' house. One of your racist friends did. So, now you're gonna make a big story about it. Yes, when the guy's going to the NBA Finals and he's what we thought was a beloved figure in America and is by a lot of people, and somebody writes a giant N-word on his house, that's a story. We didn't create it. Your racist friends did, okay?
But here's what the reality is, right? They'll say that as a way of silencing you or intimidating you so you don't cover stories like this and you don't talk about stories like this. You're not fooling anyone, okay?
Yeah.
You're not gonna shut us up. You can call us whatever you want. I've been called every name under the sun and I don't care, right? So if you think I'm race baiting because I'm simply covering a story that I had no part in, have at it.
So writing the N-word is not race baiting, but pointing out that somebody wrote the N-word is race baiting.
Yeah.
No, so if you're trying to shut us up, how's that working out for you? Only the largest online news show in the world. But anyway, keep going.
Right.
Young Turks membership creates independent media.
Believe me.
No ads.
Believe me.
All the shows.
Believe me.
On demand.
Believe me.
Support independent media.
Believe me.
It's awesome, tremendous. You'll love it.
Believe me.
And by the end, you'll be thinking,
I'm like a smart person.
tytnetwork.com/join.